It's been an absurdly long time since I've actually sat down and fully played through Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I only played through Engage once. You know, the gameplay was fire. Gameplay was fire, but everything else could definitely have used some work, but I still think it was very fun for the most part as a game in of itself. So, obviously, you know, big on Fire Emblem, you know, I've been thinking about trying to find a way to get Fire Emblem Awakening again, as well as Fates, because honestly, those games are fire too, right? Despite how people may feel about Fates, it's still a solid game, I think, for the most part, right? So, clearly, I'm excited for Fire Emblem's Fortune Weave, which is coming out in just a couple of months from now. You know, we've been waiting on the next major Fire Emblem title since Engage, and we were definitely hoping that they were cooking up something just a little bit better than what we had with Engage, because story-wise, it just kind of wasn't hitting for people. Character design-wise, it was just a little too much. People were making fun of the toothpaste MCs for way too long, you know what I'm saying? So, it was about time that we got some fresh blood in the Fire Emblem department, but for real, especially because, again, Engage was just an anniversary title, which it sucks to put it like that, but obviously, you know, the way things were designed, the way they didn't really take the story all that seriously, and it was just a way, like an excuse to shoehorn in all of Fire Emblem's finest, you know what I'm saying? Like all the key players and pretty much every major Fire Emblem title that you recognize. It was just a way to, you know, get them in there. You know, it's not like the plot needed to be all that coherent. They just needed a fun game and a reason to put Ike in a in a modern title. You know what I'm saying? So it was cool as a game. It definitely could have been more as an anniversary title. I think it could have been more special, but you know, it is what it is. What's done is done. It's time to move on to bigger and better. And that's what we have with Fortune's Weave, which is essentially, allegedly, well, no, not allegedly, confirmed a sequel to Fire Emblem Three Houses, which I'm not entirely sure how. The only thing that we have to connect the two is Sothis, who is like well and grown now, which I didn't even know was possible, I guess, but I don't know. It's been a long time since I've really sat down with Three Houses. I gotta refresh myself on what Sothis is, you know what I'm saying, as a goddess. But long and short of it is, very solid game, and obviously, you know, they needed to market that as heavily as humanly possible, because, or this new Fire Emblem game as heavily as possible, because the last game didn't get amazing reviews, and with Fire Emblem Three Houses being one of their top rated, highest selling games in the entirety of the franchise, they wanted to make sure they had that Fire Emblem ball rolling as much as possible. So why not market it as a sequel? Totally fine, whatever. Works for me. Even if it doesn't have the strongest connection, it is what it is, right? So I'm very much looking forward to Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. But I'm a tad nervous for it. And for the franchise. I mean, I have to imagine even Nintendo has to know what's happening here, right? If things go south in September, right? Because here's the thing. As you know, Fire Emblem's Fortune's Weave releases, what is it, on September 17th, right? That's fine. That's cool. It makes sense, you know, middle of the year, not middle of the year, closer to the end of the year, you know, just we have like a solid lineup of games throughout the rest of this year with Star Fox and, you know, a couple of days from now, or maybe it released by the time this video is out, who knows. Splatoon Raiders a month after that. We got Fire Emblem right after, pretty much a little bit after that, in a couple of months following, and then we have Ocarina of Time at the end of the year, right? So we've got a solid like major lineups, and then we got little things in between like the Pokopia DLC, and I think Rhythm Heaven comes out within that general time frame too, right? So we've got a lot to look forward to, right? But here's the problem. As we've been talking about for quite some time now, or at least we've talked about it a lot in my streams, everybody and their mamas are intentionally avoiding November, right? They're barely even touching, they're just, nobody's touching November, right? They're barely even touching early December, right? They're doing like, literally, they're skipping all the way into February, right? There's a reason why we're not seeing Persona 4 Revival until February. And that is because the behemoth that is GTA 6 drops in November. Now, I know it's scary to release anything around huge major releases right? You see plenty of times where, you know, you'll see like a Nintendo Direct announce like a release dates for big major Mario titles or Zelda titles or whatever. People see like the traction from that and they're like, okay, we should maybe move our game here or here or here. They don't really try to challenge that too much. But GTA has the entire industry scared to the point where it has caused a massive issue for a lot of games. And I say an issue because here's the thing. September in of itself is so jam-packed with so many games that none of them have any breathing room, right? And I live in the US, brother. Games are getting expensive. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is $70. That's 70 big ones, brother. So it's like, you know, I gotta be, you know, there's a lot of people that won't prioritize stuff like that. They gotta, you know, if they were thinking about getting into Fire Emblem, but, you know, it's already expensive and it's coming out on the same day or within the same time frame as another game that they plan to buy within September, that's really, really scary, right? Because, you know what? Let's go down the list. We have 4 games releasing on the same day at the beginning of September, with, you know, one of those games being something I actually want. I want to play Orbals, you know what I'm saying? Another game a couple days after that, another game one day after that, another 2 games 2 days or 1 day after that, another game a day after that. Then we have 3 major games coming out, or no, 2 major, kind of like 3 major games coming out September 15th with Wolverine. The next big Insomniac game, Wolverine, coming out on the 15th. We got another major game, 2 games coming out after that. And then on the 17th, we have Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, Riz Dungeon, Trails of the Sky 2nd Chapter, Trine 7, and Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of the Four, coming out September 17th. I've seen a couple people on my timeline pissed as hell that like 3 games that they really want are coming out that day, and they have to pick and choose because it's too expensive to get all of them, right? I've seen a lot of people picking Trails of the Sky Chapter 2 first, and I don't blame them because, you know, that's an investment, gang. You gotta, it's too expensive out here to be just dropping 70 bombs left and right. People won't be able to afford their rent, afford their food. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's a little scary. And then not to mention, after that, Paperhead, Dune Awakening, Control Resident, Silent Hill Townfall, Onimusha. Jesus Christ. September is so... I'm sure the list that I'm looking at here isn't even covering all of the games that are going to be dropping in September. Like, it doesn't even cover a good majority of them. But the thing is, like, it's not just the fact that it releases in September, it's the fact that so many other things release that month too. People are not only having to pick and choose what games they safely want to buy, they are also pretty much risking... by doing this, it's pretty much a massive risk, because now the game is going to drop and it's just going to be flooded in a sea of conversation. Nobody's going to be able to, like, you know, I mean, I don't know, maybe Fire Emblem has enough traction solely because it's Nintendo and it does have a little more meat than a lot of these other games do, true enough, but there's still that, like, those first couple of just months, those first 2 months, or even those first couple of weeks are critical for sales. And one of the biggest things within those first couple of weeks is word of mouth. People saying like, oh yeah, no, this game is fire, like this game is heat, this game is so good, you know what I'm saying? And people are talking about it on Twitter, on YouTube, on Insta, and they're getting their ads out and everything like that, and, you know, people are talking about it. But I feel like so many games are getting dropped within not only that month, but even that day, that, you know, it gets potentially drowned out in just a sea of conversation, not even about the games themselves, but the fact that people are so overwhelmed that these games are dropping like that. you know? And again, maybe this is just me being a little dramatic about it because, you know, I love Fire Emblem, and I'm one of those where I've been into super, like, more niche series, you know? Not that Fire Emblem is necessarily, like, super niche or anything like that, but I've constantly been into more niche series where, because obviously if they don't sell well enough on their first or second installment, I'm never seeing it again. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I have to imagine even Nintendo can't get the wrong idea about what could potentially happen when it comes to the sales of Fortune's Weave, because the fact that it's gonna get just waved in a sea of other games means that, you know, they're more than aware of the risk of doing something like that, because it's not getting, you know, the full attention that it deserves on its proper release day, because everything needs to drop in September because nobody is touching November or a majority of December. And I think the one exception I think that might be taking a risk in December is potentially Ocarina of Time. I know Ocarina of Time ain't releasing in November. There's no way. Even Nintendo wouldn't be that ridiculous. Ocarina of Time's important, but oh my god, that would be just... I don't know. And even December is risky, but I feel like if there is one game that might be able to challenge, you know, GTA that's in their arsenal right now, it is the Ocarina of Time remake. That's the one thing that people might be like, okay, I gotta make an exception. That's Zelda. That's big boy Zelda. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, maybe they have, you know, a semblance of an idea of what's going on here. I just really hope... I think this is just worrisome. I just really hope that, you know, whatever they see when it comes to the outcome of what's happening with Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, you know, every sale matters, and because there's so many different things releasing that month, I just hope that, you know, they don't get too nervous about, you know, sales numbers and stuff like that, and aren't too terribly surprised when it doesn't meet probably like what sales expectations it potentially could have if it released anytime else. And I don't know, maybe they could have at least waited until like January for it. I feel like it deserves much bigger of a spotlight than to just be kind of tossed in with this mad sea of games here. But I don't know, maybe I'm putting too much bank on Fire Emblem just because I'm biased, I guess. I don't know. I just really hope that Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is a solid game, and if it is, I hope it gets the love and care that it deserves going into, you know, the rest of September, because I know a lot of people are going to be hella focused on their, you know, their Wolverine, their Destroy All Humans, you know what I'm saying? But it's hard to say. I know a lot of people are going to be focused on Trails in the Sky. I got people in my chat that are going to be picking Trails of the Sky over Fire Emblem, I feel. So we'll have to see what goes on with that. But who knows? Again, this is Fire Emblem we're talking about. You know, Smash had a very heavy hand in uplifting Fire Emblem as a series, and it's gone on to do pretty decent numbers after Awakening and on. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully this is just me being dramatic and it means absolutely nothing that it's kind of flooded in with all these other games. Maybe it'll be one of those bigger standouts because it's Fire Emblem, because it's Nintendo, and it'll just get the proper love and attraction regardless. So we'll have to see what happens. But I know, you know, me personally, I'm gonna be dropping a fat buck that month. You know what I'm saying? I gotta play Orbitals. Wolverine is a must. I'm definitely getting Fortune's Weave, and who knows, you know, by that time I may have, you know, gotten into Trails of the Sky. You know, a lot of people have been talking very, very good about Trails of the Sky, and I've been super curious about it. So there could be a chance that by the time Trails of the Sky Part 2 comes out, I might be double dipping in some Trails of the Sky and Fire Emblem. I might be in both by then. Who knows? So, I don't know. That's one of those situations where we may have to play it by ear, but we'll have to see what goes on from there. But I've said my piece. I'm just nervous about Fire Emblem because I really do love Fire Emblem, and I've been waiting on this one for a good minute. So hopefully we get something good out of it, and hopefully it does well enough to maybe get some DLC later, maybe get, you know, the next game in a couple of years comfortably. We don't have to worry about the franchise being in danger or nothing like that. But again, I'm sure I'm just dramatic. So I'm passing the mic over in your direction, and I want you guys to tell me everything that you're thinking in the comment section below. Do you agree that, you know, Fire Emblem being tossed in with all these other September releases is kind of a messy move? You think that there's a good chance that it might actually hurt sales a lot because so many people are having to pick and choose what kind of games they're going to have to be picking up that month, and they're going to have to make sacrifices, and hopefully people pick it up later, but those first couple of months matter more than anything else? Or are you on the opposing side? Fire Emblem's going to be fine. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. It's still going to make a fat buck, and because it's a sequel to Three Houses, people are looking more forward to it than I even probably realized. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, yes ma'am, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone, so thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor, taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!